Hi, I'm Steve McKenna with another Preservation Howard County mini history. You know, often when we think of local history, we focus on the striking places, on the beautiful houses, the best known sites. In Ellicott City, that would be things like, of course, the B&O Railroad Museum, Tongue Row, the stately courthouse up on the hill, or the colored school just down Frederick Road from where I'm standing. Today, I'm at a much more unassuming place, just outside the historic district. Like many area residents, I paid scant attention to this humble building as I drove by it hundreds of times over the last 3 decades. At most, I thought, well, once that was a nice old stone house, but today it's an abandoned relic. Now, if you've driven west of Ellicott City, you've probably done the same. It wasn't until this building was recently threatened by the flood mitigation projects that I actually learned something of the significance of Earlougher's Tavern, as it was once known, and boy, is it significant indeed. Michael and Anastasia Earlougher were immigrants from Germany who came to this country in the 1780s. Michael leased land in this area in 1801, intending to run a tavern on it. But he died suddenly, and so it was up to his widow and his sons to take up the project. They purchased a part of the land that he had leased, and they opened an establishment. Originally, it was a small family-run operation, run out of a small, humble wood or log frame building, which is no longer here. It was demolished, we think, in the 1970s. The construction of the Baltimore and Frederick Turnpike, part of the National Road, now Frederick Road, was surely a boon to business here, requiring a bigger establishment. And so this stone building was likely an addition to that end. Though what you see here is considerably less than the building in its former shape, as it had a wood frame addition to the east and wraparound porches that are long gone, although some of them are visible in photographs from the early 1970s. Unusually, this building had exterior doors from each of the first floor interior rooms, which included a kitchen, a salon, a dining room, and a bar. Why doors from every single first floor room? Well, what it suggests is that the proprietors had an important need to keep a close eye on the goings-on in the bustling tavern yard outside. You know, the great Baltimore writer and newspaperman H.L. Mencken recalls that as late as the 1880s and 1890s, these kinds of taverns between Baltimore and Frederick were still vital to state commerce. Mencken wrote that at intervals of a mile or so along the road, there were old-time coaching inns, and they were doing a brisk trade in 25-cent country dinners and 5-cent whiskey. Although we know that Francis Earlougher had a reputation as a miser. He kept all of his whiskey behind the counter, as it was said. The turnpike itself was incredibly important historically, as it connected the fast-growing Baltimore City to the east with the fertile farmlands out to Frederick to the west. Positioned here at milestone 11, which still stands across the street, Earlougher's Tavern was well poised to serve coaches and drovers moving wagon loads of produce and livestock to the city, then returning to the country with manufactured wares. Its proximity to the county seat also meant that it was likely used as an inn for lodgers when the court was in session. Now, the Earloughers were surely quite successful, not only in that they built in stone, which was very uncommon for roadside taverns at the time, but also in that they purchased and operated a farm adjacent to this site, the 102 acres known as Dundee. You can see up the hill behind me. So when I pass this unassuming little building today, I no longer see it as some rundown relic, but as a living part of our local past. It's not hard to bring to my imagination the images of this place teeming with coaches and wagons, workers, lodgers, and drovers, resting, trading, gambling, drinking, catching up on the news, and eating their 25-cent country suppers. Happily, the western extension of the North Flood Diversion Tunnel has meant that Earlougher's Tavern won't be demolished. For now, it will remain, and perhaps someday it can be restored to its former glory. I'm Steve McKenna from Preservation Howard County, a nonprofit dedicated to preserving this county's precious historic, natural, and cultural resources. Preserving history preserves community. See you next time.